Hey guys, CJ here, checking in with another review of The Legend of Korra. As you can probably hear in my voice, I've been a little bit under the weather the past couple days, so, hopefully you can understand me enough in this video so that you'll, actually get my opinion, you'll get my review. Other than that, I just, should I keep my voice like this? It's just, sexy announcer voice. Oh, well. Anyways, this episode was really, really good. It was a really, really strong episode coming off of last week. I feel like it's definitely, sort of in summary, a little bit of a filler, for sure, but it did set up some important, character development points. It wasn't much of a plot episode, per se, but it was a good character episode. So, I guess the two main storylines here are Bolin and Varrick on the run, and running into some prison camp folks that they help out, and Korra, Asami, and Mako all reuniting, so Team Avatar, at least 3/4 of it, is back together in Republic City, and that also provided some important character development drama as well. I think perhaps the most important plot point of this episode is in Bolin's storyline, so we're going to start there. So, in Bolin's case, Bolin and Varrick, like I said, on the lam, they escaped last week. Unfortunately, we do see that their work was more or less for naught. Kuvira and Potara Jr. have found more spirit vines in Toph's Forest, so that could set up to something very interesting in a little bit. But we do see, Varrick and Bolin, like I said, on the run. They're captured by, some Earth Kingdom prison camp escapees, or Earth Empire prison camp escapees. And this provides, a really good kind of, look into what Kuvira does to people. And, they essentially clarify, it's a prison. It's not a re-education camp, say it like it is. These people are tough. So the Hitler comparisons to Kuvira are just at an all-time high. Everybody feels that way. But essentially they help these prison camp escapees go through a checkpoint to, get to the other side, to get to freedom, more or less. And Bolin and Varrick, they have a chance. It goes pear-shaped, and, everything goes wrong, and they end up having to fight, and Varrick and Bolin have a chance to escape, but Bolin decides to go back and not leave those people. And, that sets up really nicely. And why I think this is going to be important going forward for the plot is I expect Bolin to become the leader of a resistance, a rebellion, an Earth Kingdom kind of underground movement against Kuvira. Sort of like there were a lot of underground resistance movements in France during Hitler's reign, during the French occupation. I think that's going to be I think that'll be the defining arc of Bolin's story, is the fact that he's this resistance leader. He's going to lead the rebellion against Kuvira. And I think that's something, we could see Opal, I think that'll be, the interactions with Opal, his interactions with Opal are always a good barometer for where he is. So it's his first interactions with Opal this season, it's you support Kuvira, how could you do that? She's evil, how could you see it? And then, that gives him something to think about. And then I think the next time Opal crosses paths with Bolin, he'll be this resistance fighter, this hardened, underground leader. And I think, that'll kind of show you her opinion will have shifted very much. But I think it just leaves him in a very interesting place. And Varrick, again, this episode, super, super badass. Really, really cool stuff. I'm really glad. He's my favorite character, and I'm really glad that they've taken him out of solely the realm of comedy relief and given him something to do. He's become a much more interesting character over the past couple weeks. Now on to Korra and Asami and Mako back in Republic City, the reunion of Team Avatar, I guess. This is, it's a really interesting idea. It's pretty much, to me, like a mirror of where she originally was when she came to Republic City. She's doing stuff like saving Prince Wu, who's been kidnapped. And I think it's all good to get her confidence up. And I think, eventually she'll return to, the Avatar state of mind if she just does what she was doing, which is essentially just helping out around the city, saving the city. But I think what's more interesting is, the reactions of her, her teammates, Asami and, Mako, are pretty telling. It's they haven't really forgiven her for going away for 3 years. And I think maybe she hasn't really forgiven herself for running away. So I think that's something we could see as they begin to accept her more. Because it seemed, and that's one of my issues with this episode, is it seemed kind of forced. It's they were all lovey-dovey and happy, and it's oh my god, I love your hair, and then it's do you think you can trust your father? And then Asami just snaps, and suddenly it's she slapped her grandma or kicked her dog or something like that. The shift there was unnatural to me, and it was sort of, some of that dialogue was just not the greatest. But I think what it underlines is that there's definitely sort of a a pushback. It's like, why were you gone for 3 years? It's like, what were you doing? What did you hope to accomplish? And I think that's something that we might see explored more in her psychological healing is, maybe once they accept it, she can accept it or something like that. Anyways, I guess that about wraps it up for my review. I'm going to give this episode a solid 8.5. Definitely more good things than bad things. The dialogue, like I said, was an issue, but more or less I think it was just a filler. More plot details, more character development, which is never a bad thing. But we'll definitely see where it goes next week. Like I mentioned, Kuvira and Batar Jr. found more spirit vines, but it's in Toph Swamp, so we might see an important and interesting and really fun to watch showdown coming in the next couple weeks. So tell me in the comments below, what did you think of this episode? Did you think Korra's return was a little... Do you agree with me that the dialogue was a little forced? What did you think? What do you think is going to happen with Toph in the forest, I guess? And do you think Bolin's going to become an underground resistance leader like I expect him to? Anyways, that about wraps it up here for me. So signing off, this is CJ, and I'll see you next time.